All right. So I am Nick Teal with tealcheese.com, and I am here with Taylor, better known as Pure Ecstasy. And she is joining us from home today to talk a little bit about her new EP, Nobody's Home.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
For sure, for sure. Um, Now, before we really get into like interview type questions, how are you feeling now that things are getting a little more normal? You've been able to play some shows, you're able to go out in public again. I know after last year, everybody was pretty stressed out. How are you feeling now?
I feel a lot better, especially being in an area that's like more spaced out. Like it was very scary in the New York metro. Um, Out here, I don't know, it's just been a lot more peaceful. I've played one show and it's been outdoors. So I'm really excited
Nice.
to play my first inside gig this weekend. Like it's the first one in like 2 years, which is so weird to say.
Right. It is cool though to be able to do the outdoor shows. I mean, it at least got you to do something a little bit earlier than you might have been able to before, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody felt safe. I think people were more relaxed. So that
Oh,
was
for
pretty
sure.
cool.
Yeah, definitely. Now I know you grew up in Maryland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long did you live there before you moved?
Uh, I lived 28 years in Maryland.
Oh, wow. So what brought you to
Yeah.
New York ultimately? Like what made you decide to move there?
My old band X Nations was based out of Brooklyn, and there was like 3.5, 4 hour car rides just to do like band pictures, practice,
Sure.
stuff like that. It just got to a point where I was like, I should really just be there. And I had gotten out of a relationship in Baltimore, so it was like the perfect time to just leave the city.
There you go. Now,
Yeah.
I know that the experience wasn't really what you had planned it to be, or at least that's what I gathered just from reading the things that you've said to me and you've said sort of in other press outlets. Um, was it a situation where you feel like a lot of the darkness in this new music sort of maybe came from that experience of living there during a global pandemic?
Maybe a little bit. I don't know, like the good parts of the album came from being there too, which sounds really weird. Like I loved being there. I think the headspace that I was in at the time was just like extremely isolating. Like I had everything outside of my door and I could have, hung out with people more and, you know, instead I was isolated in this little 10 by 10 box and I just kind of lived there going through my feelings. But, there were other days where I got to see the city and hop ferries and do stuff that I loved. And I feel like that like really recharged me in a way. I didn't realize I was so burnt out.
Yeah. Well, and I know you lived in the same place for 28 years. I did a similar thing. I grew up in the same place for about 28 years of my life. And so doing anything after that feels nice, to see something else
Yeah.
and experience something else. That's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
what made you go to Kansas City? Did you have family there or what brought you over there?
My fiance is from Kansas City and she did not like living in the city. So, I mean, to be fair, it was during the global pandemic. So,
Yeah,
it was really scary. We were isolated there. Like, it was just me and her and, my bandmates. But, they even moved further out. Like, Sal went to Buffalo and John went deeper into Jersey. So, it just kind of made sense, let's have more space, less rent, which,
yeah,
the whole pure ecstasy thing wouldn't have happened if we didn't move because I bought so much new gear that I would have never been able to afford with that high rent.
for sure. That New York rent. Yeah, I know what you
Yeah, so
mean.
everything really did work out the way it was supposed to.
That's awesome. Now, I didn't want to bring it up, but since you did mention the band that you used to be in, if you don't mind, what was your role in that band? You played drums, right?
Yeah, I played drums, I did synth. Me and Sal were kind of the main writers. And that was my baby. It took me a really long time, like probably 6 months, to just kind of come to the point where it's like, I think we're on a hiatus. Like we just need to accept it and admit it. And we're all doing our own things, but we're still collaborating.
Right. So it was more of like a natural thing. Everybody just sort of drifted apart. I know once the
Yeah,
pandemic happened, that's kind of bound to happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Sal is expecting another child soon, and John's getting married. I'm getting married. We're all kind of like doing our own things. Like they're going to be in my wedding. Like there's no like
Yeah.
weirdness. Like I love them. Sal actually helped me with Old Wounds. He added some synth in on that, and you
Nice.
know, he was like a sounding board for me to get some ideas. So
Well,
it's
that's
all
good.
good.
So then that brings me to my next question. So you going solo was not like there was no bad feelings anywhere. It was just literally a natural progression. It's time for me to work on my own thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like I've done bands my whole life, and it's always come down to it's really hard to find people to keep up with me. Like I sometimes work at a manic pace, and it's just I've always wanted to do this. So when I, kind of get rolling, I'm just full speed ahead. And that's really hard to try and coordinate with a group of people.
Sure.
And, Sal's doing his solo project. So everyone's just really happy right now. John's got his podcast and,
That's
it's all
awesome.
good.
So the process for this whole EP, was it just you in the studio with an engineer and that was it?
Gosh, I wish it was me in my home studio.
Oh, okay.
um, yeah, Begin is the only one that I actually went to Walters. That's who produced most
Mhm.
of the EP. I mean, everything but one song. We'll get to that. But it was the only song like I knew I was leaving, so I wanted to go in the studio with him just to be able to have done one song. And it happened to be the intro. It was the first thing I wrote. And it kind of set the mood for what I wanted Pure Ecstasy to be. And by the time I wrote Ghost, that's like the first full song I had written.
Mhm.
Like I just sent him all the stems back for that. And, we've been doing the cross country file share.
Sure, sure. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that though. So how long was the process of you making this record overall? Like how long did it, when did it start?
It started in February.
Oh wow. That's pretty
And
quick.
it ended like 3 weeks ago because I kept rewriting Old Wounds. Like I couldn't get it right, and it was really frustrating. But when I finally got it, I was like, I promise it was worth it. Like it's been renamed, it's been restructured. Like I really wanted to get it right. So it was very recently finished.
Yeah, but that's like you were saying, working at a manic pace. I mean, for you to start in February and it's already out, that's an extremely quick turnover. Like I know a lot of bands that wait a year and a half just to put out a record. So that's really impressive.
Thank you. Hopefully the next one I'll be more relaxed with. I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork like, hi, I'm here. This is kind of what I have to offer. And maybe the next one I can take my time with. I just really missed music, which was
Yeah.
weird because I got right to the point where I wanted to quit. And now I'm like, I'm clinging on to you. I miss you so much. And, here we are.
No, but I think that's cool that you can feel that sort of like renewed sense of purpose with what you're doing where what you were doing before was awesome, but it's just a new chapter for you. So I think that's kind of a cool way to approach it. And you just wanted to establish yourself. So I can see wanting to get it out there and just wanting to have something out there.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
The one thing I noticed when I was listening to just the whole EP overall, my wife and I listened to a lot of like 80s new wave. And so we listened to a lot of like New Order and stuff. And I noticed a lot of similarities, like especially with New Order and even stuff like Tears for Fears and things like that. Is that stuff close to your heart? Like, is that an actual influence or is that just a
Yes.
coincidence?
Yes. I have some of my vinyls behind me and I could easily pull out a few Depeche Mode, New Order, The Cure, like Joy Division. That's the stuff that I really grew up listening to and always wanted to kind of emulate.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, I don't know, before it got cool again, everyone thought I was really lame for wanting to do like an 80s new wave kind of project until I met X Nations, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that stuff is really, really near and dear. And Walter, my producer, is really into The Cure and like some industrial kind of stuff. So I think that's where, because a lot of people keep saying industrial, and I'm like, really? And
Yeah.
then I listen back and I'm like, okay, well, Walt has that kind of like dark edge to all of his writing and synth tones. And I told him, I'm like, you can take whatever of my tones out and add what you think sounds necessary. Like some of my tones that I sent him were just, I hear this melody, but I don't know what it should sound like. And he did it on a Moog. So it was actual analog synth for a lot of
That's
the bass.
awesome.
That's why it sounds so round and huge. bass synth.
I
I
think
love
that's
it.
good though. I don't know if enough artists do that with their producers, like give them the power to sort of be a voice within the music, because they're going to have a different input, they're going to have a different ear for what you're doing. I think that's smart. That's probably why it sounds as good as it does. You're getting more
Thanks.
feedback, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because yeah, one of my notes here was the fact that there's definitely something industrial about it. And I know most people, when they think of industrial music, probably think of Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails, and that's not what it sounds like. So it's a weird, almost like a vague similarity where it's like something about it. And I think you hit it right there, where it's like a fullness to it that just sounds like deep and dark. It's really good. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
appreciate that.
Um, Now I saw that you played Kansas City Pride.
Hmm.
Was that your first show as Pure Ecstasy?
Yeah, I don't know why I did that to myself. I thought it was gonna be like low key. I'm like, okay, we're in mid America. Um, Pride is probably not gonna be huge.
Sure.
You know, maybe I'll be in a tent off to the side, you know. It'll be comfortable. There will be allies there. It's gonna be great. And then like a day before when they were setting up the stage, Erica, it's my fiance's name, and I were like, let's just drive by and see what they're doing. And then we drove by and it was like a huge ass festival stage with like full lighting, like 8 subs. And I'm like, whoa.
Oh
And then I
man.
and then I saw the catwalk because there's, you know, going to be drag performances and stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool, cool. This is probably something, you know, 5 years down the line, but it's fine. Everything's going to be great. You can do this.
Yeah, that puts some
I was,
pressure on though. Yeah.
oh my God. Yeah, there was probably like at least 500 people there. And I was like, cool, casual first show. Got
Wow.
it under your belt. It's okay.
I think that's kind of cool to get that out of the way up front though, where a lot of people play their first shows to maybe 10 people where it's so personal, you can hear them cough and you know what I mean? It's like they're right
Yeah.
there. With 500 people, you're just jumping in all in. I don't know. That might not be a bad thing.
It was cool. Like once I stepped onto the stage and stopped thinking like about screwing up or how my voice is going to sound or whatever, I just stepped on and I was like, oh, this is cool. Everybody's looking at me and like everyone was so supportive. Like it didn't feel like judgment. And I guess that's the cool thing about playing Pride.
Yeah.
It's like a zero judgment, like very accepting like crowd. And then like my whole group of friends was like in this like top left area. So if you watch back on the like I have a live video out, like you can see like exactly who was there because they knew me
Right.
personally. And you know, there were some bras and weird undergarments thrown and I'm like, I don't know where these came from, but this is kind of cool for a first show.
Right. You don't expect that when you've never played any of these songs live before. So, how do you find yourself like overcoming that self doubt in that moment before you go on stage and you're going, oh man, I can't screw this up and all that? How do you get through that? Or do you just sort of push yourself to, well, I'm just going to do it?
Yeah, more like the second one. And I was just lucky that the crowd was really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I like went into this weird like autopilot hyperdrive kind of thing where it was like out of body. I'm like, oh wow, I got up there and I was like totally comfortable. Like normally I would say I'd be awkward as fuck,
Right.
but it worked out really well. And you know, there was some technical difficulties, like my amp that I was using. It wasn't my amp, it was busted. Like it
Nice.
was a festival amp. So I was like, cool. So I can't use any of my pedals. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way around that. So I was like overcoming all these little things while being like very nervous, but it was okay. It ended up being a really good experience.
That's awesome. That's the thing I think a lot of people that don't play music don't realize about live shows, even at a local level, something inevitably always goes wrong. Whether it's the PA doesn't work or you don't have the right chord or whatever the thing is. I used to host a lot
100%.
of local shows and I can't every single time it was something. And it's like you get through that thing and you do the event and then you're like, okay, wow, I did it. And then the next thing isn't
Yeah,
so bad, you know?
yeah. So this show coming up this weekend is my release party. And instead of, you know, having a head and I have to use like the cabinet of the place that I'm at, I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna get an amp simulator pedal. I can control everything. Like I will not have a busted speaker ever again.
Oh, that's
and I got
genius. I
in
didn't even know that
ears and
existed.
oh my God. Are you a guitar player?
No, no, I'm not.
Okay. Okay. I was gonna say, like, look into the Line 6 HX Stomp. It literally emulates everything. So I found through a friend the Paramore, they're called impulse responses.
Hmm.
So like the Misery Business guitar tone, I have that in my pedal. I have like the
Wow,
Brand New Eyes tone, and I mean, it doesn't get better than
that's
like
really
the
cool. So
Paramore
it's
guitar tone.
essentially the same thing as like a producer having, these samples loaded up or these sample packs, whatever the thing is,
Yeah.
similar idea. That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So are you, and I don't know if it's too early to even talk about this, are you planning on touring once you're able to do so?
100%. Yeah, I'm already working on it. I want to do the East Coast mostly because I want to see old friends and my family and I miss them. And that's where I've toured forever. So I think the turnouts will be really cool. I'm already talking to a friend about doing a tour together. So that'll be cool.
That's
And
awesome.
then my management is based out of Nashville and they want to have me come do Nashville and the West Coast and stuff. So there's plans. I'm
That's awesome.
excited.
But that's good. So you do have a management team behind you. You don't have to do it all yourself. That's
Yeah,
definitely a positive.
absolutely. That was recent. It's been like the last month, and God, they're the best.
Because with X Nations, did you do all your own bookings? Like you guys just figured it out?
I did
Oof,
everything.
wow. But that's good though. You have all the experience of kind of knowing what
Yeah,
those things take so that, if you ever needed to,
yeah,
you could jump in.
absolutely.
Nice. Um, Now with this EP, do you feel like you got a lot of emotions out? Do you feel like that was sort of like almost a therapy process for you? Because that's sort of what it sounded like.
Was I whiny?
No, no, not at all. It just seemed like there was a lot of, I don't know what other way to put it, like a lot of darkness that went into it, and you can almost hear you coming out of it, or you like finding the balance in like it's okay if it's not all good all the time or not all, sunny all the
Yeah,
time. I don't know. It was like a weird yin and yang moment when I heard it.
I'm like really happy that you got that out of it. So it kind of has like a story progression as the EP goes forth. Um, I write in retrospect. I'm really bad at expressing myself in the moment.
Mhm.
Like if I were to get in an argument or something like that, it would take me days for me to put it into words like this is why you upset me and this is why I'm hurt and this is why I'm mad at you. And this I wrote like almost a year or two later and I didn't realize I was still harboring like certain resentment or abandonment or you know any of the feelings I'm talking about in the EP. Like I didn't realize I was still holding on to it. I was like, well, I'm just going to write a song. I'm going to see how it goes. And Ghost was the first like full on one that I wrote. And I'm like, I'm in a happy relationship and I'm writing this like weird dark ass shit. Like it's just like some weird like sector in myself that's like holding on to like some kind of resentment. Like I'm just gonna get it out. And I think it's helped me. Like I feel a lot lighter.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize songwriting could be like that because before I only wrote beats and synth parts and adding the fun little sprinkles on top of, someone else's words. So now I'm, getting that sense of relief. So it's been kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's something that, that's hard to find. Yeah. People pay a lot of money for therapy like that. So it's cool that you can use music to sort of work through it. And I would assume, people listening definitely are going to catch on to that as well and probably feel the same things. You know what I mean? It's always crazy to see people's music affect people's lives like that. And people say,
Yeah.
this song saved my life. It's like, that's an insane thing to think about.
Yeah. I hope I have stuff that's powerful enough to do that for somebody, honestly. Like I think that'd be really cool. It's funny in an interview I did earlier, they asked me like, how do you feel about releasing your first like album? Like it's just you and solo. And I'm like, I don't really know how to express my feelings right now. I write in retrospect. I will let you know later, but I
Sure.
probably will cry this weekend.
But that's good though. I mean, you're able to get that subconscious stuff out and just, like you said, let it be dealt with and then move on. And if it comes up again, you'll assess it at the time. But that's interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people that I talk to write in that moment, something happens and they go write it down. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. You're kind of letting yourself analyze your own feelings and then going to talk about it.
Yeah. I'm an overthinker, so it makes sense.
I am too. I am too. Now, do you have any plans for like music videos? Like, do you have anything lined up for sure that you can talk about or no?
Yeah. I actually just finished my first music video, I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
And it's funny, he was supposed to be our wedding videographer, and he still is, but because of the pandemic, the wedding got pushed back. And I was like, "You want to do a music video?" And he actually shot Pride too.
Oh,
So
cool.
we've been working together for a little bit, and we did one for Bad Dreams. And I like thought this whole idea out. So you know how El Caminos are supposed to be like bad juju, like it's
Yeah,
bad luck if you see an El Camino. So a friend of mine has an El Camino, and it's kind of like low key following me around in the video, like it's like a bad dream. So
sure.
it's kind of that reoccurring creepy thing, and it's like my ex in the video is driving it around, and that's kind of the whole vibe for it. I'll send it to you if you want to check
Yeah,
it
yeah, I
out.
would like that. That's
Um,
cool though that you got to come up with the concept, so it's even just like furthering the fact that this is your project, and yes, you're getting help with it here and there, but everything is coming from you. All these concepts are coming from you.
oh yeah, I
That's
edited the video as well. Like I am
wow.
very hands on. I am exhausted,
I'm sure.
but I'm happy. So it overtakes that, like
Sure.
it's a lot, but after this week, I'm going to be able to relax for a day or two,
Hmm.
maybe.
Now, do you have a day job also, or no?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It's funny. I work for my future in-laws plumbing company.
Hmm.
So I order all the parts and stuff, and the name, it's called Dick Ray Master Plumber. And they like play into the name hardcore. Like my shirt that I wear during the day says I heart Dick.
Nice.
Yeah, it's hilarious. The owner is like very like he's probably around our age. So
Okay.
yeah, he's funny. So yeah, that's my day job, and they're really freaking cool with me taking off and doing what I need to do with music. So
That's
they're
good. Yeah, I was gonna
perfect.
say that's got to be hard to like find a balance between doing all of that.
Yeah, it's funny. I used to manage at Guitar Center, and they were totally not as understanding about music stuff. I'm like, really? This is what
Yeah,
we all want to be doing.
that's pretty interesting. But I mean, that's what you get, a corporation style situation. They're not really going to be cool with it. So it's good that you found something that's literally family oriented, that you know
Yeah.
who owns it and they're cool with you doing what you need to do.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. I'm gonna send you one of their commercials later so you can get a laugh. It's
Oh yeah,
it's golden.
please do. I mean, is there anything else that you want to touch on? And that was pretty much all I wanted to get to. So if there's anything else you want to mention, let's go for it.
Cool. I mean, I think you kind of nailed everything that I probably would have had to say, but I don't know. I appreciate you being so supportive, like from the get, like when I had one song and you were like, yeah, let's do something. Like that meant a lot because coming from like it's pretty much coming from nothing, like all over again. Like I climbed with my old band, and you don't really get to keep a lot of those old, you know, what am I trying to say? It's hard to start over again. So
Oh
it's
yeah, no,
really
I know what
cool
you're
that
saying.
you
Yeah,
like had the faith in my music to even check it out and to support. So just
yeah.
I think that's all I have to add is like thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's I try really hard. I mean, I started all of this from nothing too. Teal Cheese was a buddy of mine from high school wanted to start a blog and said, "Do you want to write for it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I guess I like writing. Why not?" So I did it for years for free, and then realized like, well, you know what? All these artists are telling me that they pay ungodly amounts of money for press, and was like, I don't really think that's right. So let me put myself in a situation where I can do it for whatever they want to donate, $5,
Yeah,
20, that doesn't matter. And then I'm able to take things that if I listen to it and I connect with it, I can do whatever I want. So I've been really
yeah,
fortunate that I've never sold part of this to somebody else or, treated it like an ad space or anything like that. I thought about it a few times, because you want to make money, but it's like,
yeah.
I don't want to ruin the thing that I built. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cool. Like I can tell like just from reading through your stuff, like you actually like the stuff you're covering. It's not just, oh, cool. This big PR company sent this to me, so I have to cover it. Like, you can tell just by the way you're writing, like, oh, he's actually into this. Like,
Oh yeah.
when I was reading what you wrote about, Azure Ray and my music and stuff like that, I'm like, how did he know that it was something I listened to for years in high school? It was like, I didn't even think about it anymore.
Right.
Like,
It's just
so
in there.
yeah, and that's like really cool that you actually listen enough to pull things that is 100% accurate, but like not in the forefront. You're like,
Right.
oh my God, what is it? What is that show? I'm trying to think. It's going to be really stupid. Where the lady like reads people like, and they have like family that
Oh,
has passed. Oh, what is it called?
the medium. I don't know what. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, that's you, but for music.
That's funny. Well, I really appreciate it, and that means a lot. I do make it a rule with myself that if I don't like something, if I listen to it and I just personally don't like it, I don't cover it because I don't want to. Number one, I don't want to fake that I like it. And number two, I don't want to say mean things about someone's art. It's all subjective. So just because I don't like it doesn't really mean anything. But I
Yeah,
do think
that's
I'm
cool.
pretty careful picking like things that I know I can listen to over and over and over in order to come to those weird conclusions of, like you said, oh yeah, remember that song I used to listen to in high school? It reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's so tight.
Very cool, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Seriously, I know you got a lot going on.
All good. I appreciate you doing it. Like, I'm so pumped for this week.
For sure. And of course, because we haven't said it yet, go stream Pure Ecstasy's new EP, Nobody's Home, and stream it lots and lots over and over and over again.
Yes, I second that.
All right. You have a good one. All right.
You too. See you later.
All right.